Hello all. For this week's class blog topic, I have been assigned to discuss a myth regarding crime, punishment, or education. So I chose to look at the alleged correlation between crime and immigration. This past week, billionaire Donald Trump announced his candidacy for president, and during his nearly 50-minute speech, he referred to, amongst other things, how rich he was, how awesome he is, and what a success in life he has been. The part of the speech that most of us found troubling, though, was when he spoke about immigration, and particularly immigration from Mexico. One of his statements was that when Mexico sends its people, they're not sending the best. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists, and I assume are good. Some are good people, but I speak to border guards, and they're telling us what we're getting. Now, that's his quote, not mine. The notion that Donald Trump ever took the time to speak with a border guard is kind of funny to me, but his comments and thoughts are not unusual. Many in our country believe that immigrants are one of the root causes of a lot of our crime, and that closing our doors to immigrants will reduce the crime rate and make our society safer. But is that a fair and accurate assessment? Does immigration actually increase the crime rate in our country? Well, Chapter 6 in our class textbook, Racial Domination and Racial Progress, discussed this myth and presented several statistics that show that increases in immigration do not lead to an increase in crime and may in fact have the opposite effect. While 73% of U.S. citizens believe immigrants are likely to increase crime, actual statistics do show us otherwise. One study showed that 45% of first-generation immigrants were less likely to participate in violent crime than third-generation immigrants, and that overall immigrants were less likely to participate in criminal behavior than their native-born counterparts. Many border cities and immigrant enclaves have lower crime rates than areas populated by native-born citizens. Other studies showed that as generations of immigrant families assimilated into society, they became more likely to commit crime than the first generation that arrived. I looked at some immigration and crime statistics at other websites and also from the FBI and Department of Justice. And the statistics varied and were pulled from different years, but the consistent theme was a negative correlation between immigration and crime. Take, for instance, that between 1990 and 2010, the foreign-born share of the U.S. population grew 5% from 7.9 to 12.9%. And at the same time, the number of unauthorized or illegal immigrants more than tripled from 3.5 million to 11.2 million. But during the same time period, the FBI data indicated the violent crime rate in the United States actually declined 45 to 57% depending on your source, and property crime rates fell approximately 42% during this time period. Another study showed that immigrants were 5 times less likely to be in prison than native-born citizens. A 2007 study by sociologist Ruben Rumbaugh found that for every ethnic group, without exception, incarceration rates among young men are lowest for immigrants, even among the least educated. Native-born men ages 18 to 39 experience about a 3.5% incarceration rate, which is 5 times higher than the 0.7% rate for immigrant men in 2000. And among high school dropouts, 9.8% of the native-born population were behind bars, compared with only 1.3% of immigrants. I could cite other statistics, but you get the idea. Now, immigration may not be the sole factor that crime has decreased, but these statistics do debunk the narrative that immigration causes an increase in crime. So why are immigrants the scapegoat when it comes to discussions of crime? Well, for one thing, people don't look at statistics, and they simply repeat what they are told and believe are facts. Statistics are often withheld in favor of arguments based in emotion and fear. We also have massive racial divides still in this country, and so who better to blame for your problems than people from other countries who look and speak differently than you? Immigrants have often faced opposition in this country's history. Just look how Irish and Italian immigrants were viewed when they began immigrating here in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Media and politicians would like you to believe that crime is on the increase and immigrants are a big reason why. But this is another example of prejudice and a lack of critical thinking in our society. So for me, learning that immigration could not be correlated to increases in crime reinforced the need to think objectively and examine data before jumping to conclusions or blaming someone else or something for problems. So in conclusion for this week, read, educate yourself, and think smarter.